Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Ayleen, and this is Medicine Raw. And I hope you're enjoying the month of Earth Magic. If you have any questions or anything about the last video, please post them in the comments. Also, as this is being broadcast, I am in the chat room. So if you want to log on and ask me any questions, then you can do so. For those of you who are listening and on Blog Talk Radio at Healing House Radio, I encourage you to check out the YouTube video, and the link is in the description for the Blog Talk Radio episode. And also, you can comment in the Blog Talk Radio, and I will be checking that for questions and comments as well. So, as we start our next section talking about Earth Magic, and once again, I want to emphasize this isn't about having control over nature. It's not about the idea that, oh, well, we can, miraculously walk up to wild coyote and make friends. No, this is about recognizing the energy of nature, being able to incorporate that into ourselves and our being and our own frequency, and then through a practice of, really very much, it's not telling or asking nature to do anything. It's about finding an agreement and creating an agreement of gentleness and mutual respect. And as I feel it, nature is sentient. It is aware, and it is aware of our energy. It responds. When I told the story last week about the nettles, and that, once it was clear that we were not a threat to the nettles, then the relationship became gentler, and I was able to actually touch and pet a nettle. And, that was something that happened because I came from a place of respect. And, you know, don't do this at home. It takes a while to learn how to match the energy in that way. And in later months, we're going to be talking specifically about matching energy and things like that. And we'll kind of allude to it at other times. So hang in there. We've got a long road, and we're just beginning. So I decided that if people are going to understand working with nature, natural energies, that one of the things that needs to happen is that you understand and learn to work with the nature spirits. And I know for some this may, kind of get into a little bit of woohoo, fairy talk, but essentially that's what it is. When we talk about the energies and the consciousness within nature, within stones, within plants, within the trees, there are nature spirits, and cultures from around the globe have all acknowledged that, or at least recognized that there are spirits that, are of the earth, who we would view as magical, whether you call them fairies, leprechauns, um, whatever, gnomes. There are places in the world where actually it's just a given. There are governments that will not put down roads in places where they know that there's a lot of, fairy folk activity, and they may even send someone in to ask if it's okay, if there's permission. At one time, I was associated with a group when we were building a sweat lodge on a property, and the first thing that happened was the person who was in charge of the group asked me to go and speak to the spirits there, and speak to the woodland folks there, and to speak to the fairy folk, and to let them know what we wanted to do, and to determine what it is, how we could do that respectfully, and to receive their permission. And so I did, because that is something that I have learned to do, and I found them very receptive. There are some traditions where you bring gifts. Maybe it's a little quartz traditions that I've been trained in, you bring things like little honey cakes because they like sweets, or the idea of some sort of an offering, to show respect, to show that you honor them and appreciate them. So, have I personally dealt with forest spirits? Yes. And over the last, say, 10 to 15 years, I've been able to have a lot of very, very, very unusual experiences. And some of those I'll share, and some of those I won't. Or I won't. What I will share is that I know that these creatures, these beings, are real on a very personal level. And, maybe it's that, you're walking through some place, and usually it's that little thing out of the corner of your eye that you see, some little bit of movement, and you look and it's gone. Some people, will look into a tree and swear they see a face in it. It's interesting, how the animals react to you. The main thing is that if you want to have these types of experiences, you can. You just have to really be able to slow yourself down. You have to really be able to calm yourself. And it's hard because, many people want to experience this. Many people want to, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to sit in the woods and I'm going to see fairy folk. And yeah, maybe if you're willing to sit in those woods for 3 or 4 days and just be quiet and be silent and show that you can be able to meet them where they are. Now, there's different animal spirits, and often people talk about animal totems. Now, an animal, you may encounter an animal, and it may not specifically be your totem, but it could just be there, as either a messenger, or maybe it's just there because that's its world. And often, if you can sit, and I will keep reiterating, this is about stillness. If you want this experience, it is going to take a practice of stillness and quietness and just being able to blend in. If you're sitting and leaning against a tree, it's about becoming a part of that tree. It's about being willing to drop your humanness and your humanity just enough to where you become a part of everything. As often as humans, we would separate ourselves from the natural world around us. The birds don't separate themselves. The insects don't separate themselves. The tree doesn't separate itself from the river. They're all a part of one consciousness. So for you to be able to step into that world and to be able to experience, the types of things that will, allow you to go, oh my gosh, this is real. These beings are real. Then a part of it is a practice of quietness, of stillness, even if it's just imagining, what would it be like to be a tree? Start with let's pretend. And just sit there near a tree and go, wow, I wonder what it would be like to be a tree. And imagine that. If you're not doing anything else, just imagine it. And by starting off with the plants, it allows you to be able to learn to find that matching, that balance point, that harmonic with the natural world. And once you find that harmonic, that's when these beings and these creatures will be able to connect with you. They will be willing to trust you enough to maybe let you see them. And it is, and I really debated this for quite some time. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, put this out there and share. It's like, well, yes, I have had interaction with woodland spirits and things like that. And because, of course, the idea that you might be thought crazy. I promise you that I am very sane. I promise you that I am serious and earnest in what I'm saying. Anybody who has been watching these videos, I mean, this is me. This is, you know, me putting it out there. And it's not about, oh, well, this is something I can do and you can't. No, everybody can do it. Everybody who is willing to learn that quietness, to learn that stillness, to be able to connect, to not want the experience to be what you envision it to be, but to simply allow the experience to happen. And often it does happen in those quiet moments when you kind of forget yourself for a few minutes. When you forget you're separate from the things around you. If you're, sitting by the ocean and, your eyes are closed and you're just listening to the water and my favorite time by the ocean is first thing in the morning and the fog is still there and, there's not many people out there. So it's just me and the ocean. And being able to connect with that and to find where, that sound just fills you and you feel that tide moving back and forth within you. So, yes, you can be able to connect. You just have to be able to quiet down. You have to be able to find that stillness. Nature spirits are, and it's really funny because where I live, I live up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And it's a very interesting, the community is kind of this interesting blend of hippie and redneck. And, the gruffest good old boy up there, would say it's like, oh yeah, there's spirits, up in these woods, there's spirits in the forest. Because we live surrounded, up there we live surrounded by the forest, by the mountain. The spirit of everything is there. That connection with nature is so much more powerful. I mean, when I first moved up there, I actually had trouble sleeping because of the earth energy was so intense in that space. Now, does that mean that you have to move up to the mountains in order to be able to have these experiences? Does that mean that, you can't live in a city and be able to experience earth magic? Absolutely not. Nature is everywhere. And it's not that, it's not in the city. It's just that it's kind of caught up in a lot of other stuff. You can have plants in your home, and that's nature. You can, create that kind of, feeling of the earth. You can bring the earth into your space. And even if it's just one or two plants, near someplace quiet, in your room or whatever, you can bring that in. And you can practice, this connection. Earth magic is about connection. Earth magic is about oneness. Earth magic is about being in the moment with the natural world. And it is a practice to kind of cut things out. And while it is more challenging when you're not in a natural setting, it's certainly not impossible. You'll be able to do it. You just have to work on your meditation practices a little bit more. Maybe you need to incorporate, if you're in kind of a noisy area, maybe we need to incorporate background music or background sounds that allow you to, sort of block out some of the city noise. So, don't think that you have to, pack up everything and move out to nowhere to be able to do this. You don't. And remember that, nature is mountains, it's fields, it's the desert, it's the ocean, it's the forests. Nature is all of what is out there and it's all of what's in here. At the heart of earth magic and practicing earth magic is the acceptance that you're a part of it, the acceptance that you're one with it. It's finding that resonance and that frequency with it. And that is something that you just practice. you know, be around, natural things. You can go to a park and just sit and feel the air, feel the breeze moving against you, and find a squirrel to watch, and just be able to connect. And as you expand, your ability to just be with nature, nature will notice you, the energies will notice you, the beings will notice you. And yes, it is easier to connect with them and find them in a natural setting. So you can practice, in the city, in your apartment, in your home, you know, create that nature space. And, we're going to be talking more about creating a nature space. But, create that space, create that focus, create your own meditation for it. Figure out what it is that connects you in that way. Maybe it is, we talked last week about holding on to a stone and feeling it and, really connecting with that. That is an excellent way to start off practicing and learning how to work with earth energies. Then, you just kind of, allow yourself when, go to a place that, has forests and, or you can go to the desert, or you can go to, if you can't get to anything else, go to a botanical garden and sit, just sit with it. But for me, the best way is to just get out into the thick of nature. Preferably either by yourself, or you can, have other people there, but just make sure that, it's everybody who is kind of on board with it, who can be able to say, it's like, oh, okay, we're here for quiet. Some people have a very hard time with quiet. They have a very hard time, you know, getting into that meditative space. And nature will sense that. And anything that is dissonant with that, creates that space. It's like, okay, this person isn't ready to connect. And, the woodland beings do know that. And so what they'll do is that, they'll watch. Then, that's that thing where, it's like maybe you see something out of the corner of your eye. Or you're sitting quietly and suddenly, you hear rustling. And maybe it's a squirrel, maybe it's a bird, or maybe it's not. And like I said, up where I live, a lot of people have said, it's like, oh yeah, we've seen them. They're there, they're in the woods, and it's just something that when you reach that point, yeah, it is definitely worth working towards. Because once you reach that point where you can have that connection, it, what's the phone? Once you can reach that point of having that connection, and oh, by the way, leave your phone at home. Do not get somewhere and decide you're going to tweet or check your messages or whatever. Just leave the phone in the car and just get out there. And, I spent 3 days out at one point, just out in nature. And, there was no fire, there was no food. I had a little bit of water, and that was a profoundly amazing experience that actually opened me up to a lot of it because I had nothing else to do but sit and become a part of what was around me. When I went to the rainforest, and I spent time in Brazil and connecting to the Amazon, that was amazing. And see, that's where it all starts. That ability to connect, that ability to create a respectful, cooperative agreement that, okay, we're both in this space together. What can you show me? And there's a lot to approaching nature in a humble way, to approaching what you do and how you encounter nature. Last time I did go on a bit of a rant because it really does upset me when I see pictures of the day after an Earth Day event, and I see it's just a sea of trash and things that were left, It was as if people just got up and walked away from their trash and, oh yeah, feeling good about themselves because they participated in an Earth Day. And I'm not going to go into that again. It's just that those are the things that nature notices. Those are the things that these spirits notice. They're aware of, you walk into a forest, and there are some of you who probably have experienced where it's like, you walk into a forest and you feel like you're being watched. You feel like there's something there. And yeah, you are. And, I've had interactions with animals that were just amazing. And it was just like sitting and being in that space and interacting in a way that all I can say is that it was life changing. So when you consider that, you want, and this is like a real basic overview, and we're going to talk, a little bit more about it. But the idea, the foundation is finding that still place where you can respectfully meet nature. And it takes patience, and it takes the ability to not rush. And if you are willing to take that time, and if you have a specific circumstance that, or maybe something specific you want to look into, please contact me and either leave a question in the comments, or you can reach me through my other social media. My Twitter link is in the description, as well as my link to my Facebook group, Medicine Walk with Dr.Ayleen. And, go ahead and ask the questions. It's really great to interact with people and help them be able to find their way. Like I said, this isn't about finding my way. This is about your way and your connection. And as we talk about nature and even if it's, going out on a starry night and just looking up at the sky, looking up at the star nation, feeling the life around you that awakens as soon as the sun goes down. Yeah, so, this isn't about being able to go out and tame wild beasts and call on whatever. This is about connecting to specific spirits, showing that you are respectful, how to be still and learn from nature. And as soon as you establish that, you are there, you are respectful, and you're there to learn, it's amazing what will happen. Maybe it'll just start off as an unusual bird that seems kind of focused on you. And, maybe it's a bird, maybe it isn't. And yeah, I know that it sounds kind of crazy, and I accept that. And I don't want people to think that they have that experience and automatically, if they see something or hear something that is tremendously unique and tremendously special, that they're crazy. No. Other people experience this. A lot of other people. Like I said, there are places in the world where the local fairy folk are consulted before a road is put in. And so, because if they aren't, then nothing will work. The equipment gets damaged, and yes, you could say it's like, oh, well, that's just other people going in. Maybe, and maybe not. The important thing is that something inside you has felt that connection. Something inside of you has felt like you were being watched. Something has felt like, there's something else, just past the trees or maybe up in the trees. And, we all have heard of, leprechauns and gnomes and elves and fairies and all of that. I will tell you, not only do I believe in them, I've also interacted. And it's amazing. And it is well worth the practice of finding stillness, of letting your humanity slide down just enough to where it allows you to become a part of everything. So, go out and try. If you need some help or some additional guidance, please uh, contact me, and I will help you if I can. Or I really would like it if you would post in the comments, because if you have a question about something, more than likely somebody else has a question about it too. And this is probably one of the most special aspects of Earth Magic, and I hope that you'll be able to find a way, because once you've had that experience, believe me, it changes everything. It opens up everything, and you will see the world, and especially the natural world, in a whole new way, and not from the outside. So thank you for joining me. And as I said, if you would like to, if you have questions, you can, and or also if you would like to support this, if you're curious about more episodes, this is going to be through this whole year. So if you're curious about anything, if there's a topic that you would like me to cover, and if you would like to support this channel, then you can comment, you can share the episodes, you can, please like the episode. And you can also subscribe, which it's always really cool to see, more people interacting and growing the community. My goal is to grow a community of people who are able to step up into finding their own path and their own way and their special powers and gifts. So, please, let me know what it is that you're looking for. Let me know what it is that, if you have a particular question about something. And as I said, for those of you who are on Blog Talk Radio, please check out the YouTube page. And if that resonates, subscribe to that. If you would like to support me on a higher level and support this work and what we are building together, then you can go in the description. There's a link to my Patreon account, and you can become a subscriber. And there are certain perks to being a subscriber, such as more interaction with me, and there'll be specific things that will be open to the subscribers only. So, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And try out getting out in nature and getting very quiet. And it may take a couple of hours, but see what happens. So, have a wonderful week, and in the meantime, and as always, I wish you balance, and I wish you blessings from my heart to yours. Love you. Class dismissed.